My business partner and my brother conspired to steal my company while I was hospitalized. When I got out, I discovered their plan. My counterattack sent them into bankruptcy. Hi, I'm Matthew. I'm 35 years old, and I never thought I'd be writing this story. But after everything that happened, I need to tell someone because I still can't believe the betrayal I experienced. This is the story of how my business partner and my own brother tried to steal the company I built with blood, sweat, and tears, and how I ended up sending them into bankruptcy. To understand this story, you need to know a bit about my background. Since I was 22, when I graduated with a degree in industrial engineering, I had a clear vision. I wanted to create an industrial automation company. I don't come from a wealthy family or anything like that. My dad worked in a factory, and my mum was a secretary. But I was always good with numbers and had an obsession with efficiency and technology. My younger brother David is 3 years younger than me. He was always the artist of the family, studied graphic design and marketing. Honestly, I never thought we'd have much in common professionally, but when I started my company 8 years ago, he offered to help with branding and digital marketing. He was good at what he did, I'll give him that. 5 years ago, I met Sebastian at a tech conference. He was an engineer like me, but specialized in software. We had similar visions about the future of automation and decided to partner up. It was the best decision I made, or so I thought at the time. The company grew rapidly. Autotech Solutions became one of the leading automation solutions providers in our region. We had contracts with major manufacturers, developed proprietary software, and our reputation was impeccable. I handled operations and client relationships, Sebastian handled technology development, and David managed all marketing and communications. The problem started 6 months ago. I had been feeling unwell for weeks. Chest pains, shortness of breath, extreme fatigue. Like any obsessive entrepreneur, I ignored the warning signs until one day I collapsed in the office. Sebastian and David rushed me to the hospital, where doctors told me I'd had a minor heart attack and needed emergency bypass surgery. Don't worry, I told them from the hospital bed. It's just a week or two. Sebastian, you can handle the technical operations, and David, keep up with the marketing. We have those 3 big contracts pending, the brewery, the textile plant, and the new food production line. Just keep everything running until I get back. Sebastian squeezed my shoulder and said, Don't worry, bro. David and I will take care of everything. Just focus on getting better. David nodded with genuine concern in his eyes. Matthew, don't worry about anything. The company is in good hands. What an idiot I was to trust them. The surgery was more complicated than expected. What was supposed to be a week turned into 3 weeks in the hospital, followed by a month of recovery at home. During this time, I maintained contact with the office mainly through phone calls and short video calls, since doctors had ordered complete rest. At first, everything seemed to be running smoothly. Sebastian gave me updates on technical projects, and David sent me weekly marketing reports. The numbers looked good. Clients seemed satisfied, and I felt relieved that the company was in capable hands. But I started noticing strange things. When I called the office, sometimes they took a while to answer, or told me Sebastian was in a meeting. David started being more evasive in our conversations, giving general answers when I asked for specific details. Once I tried calling our administrative assistant Maria directly, but they told me she no longer worked with us. When I asked David about it, he said, "Oh yeah, she left for personal reasons. Sebastian and I decided we could handle her tasks for now to save money while you recover." Something didn't add up, but I was too weak and medicated to investigate further. After 5 weeks away, I finally got medical clearance to return to work. It was a Monday morning, and I had decided to surprise everyone by arriving early. I wanted to see how things were and prepare to fully take back the reins. When I arrived at the office at 7:30 a.m., the first thing I noticed was that they had changed the locks. My key no longer worked. I thought maybe it was a security measure they had implemented while I was away, so I rang the doorbell. Sebastian opened the door, and I swear the expression on his face was pure panic. "Matthew, what are you doing here so early?" "It's my company, Sebastian. Why can't I be here early?" No, of course you can. It's just, we weren't expecting you back until next week." As I walked through the office, I noticed more changes. They had moved my desk to a smaller office. The main desk, which had been mine for years, now had a nameplate that read, "Sebastian Ruiz, General Manager." "What is this?" I asked, pointing to the nameplate. David appeared from the kitchen looking just as nervous as Sebastian. "Oh, Matthew, bro, look, we need to talk. Sebastian and I have been discussing the company structure while you were away, and we thought maybe we needed to make some organizational changes." "What kind of changes?" Sebastian cleared his throat. "Look, Matthew, while you were in the hospital, David and I had to make many important decisions. We closed those 3 big contracts, implemented new systems, hired additional staff. Basically, we've been running the company." "And you've done well," I said, although I was already getting annoyed by the tone of the conversation. "But now I'm back." David exchanged a look with Sebastian before continuing. "The point is, bro, we've been thinking that maybe the company needs more shared leadership. Sebastian has proven to be an excellent leader during your absence, and I've been handling not just marketing but also day-to-day operations." "What exactly are you trying to say?" Sebastian took control. "We're proposing a restructuring. David and I want to buy a larger stake in the company. Currently, you have 60%, I have 25%, and David has 15%. We propose it should be 40% for you, 35% for me, and 25% for David." I laughed. I literally laughed in their faces. "Are you kidding? You want me to sell you part of my company because you did your job for 5 weeks? David's expression hardened. "Matthew, don't be irrational. This isn't just your company anymore. We've all contributed significantly to its growth, and you've always been compensated appropriately for that." Sebastian leaned forward. "Look, Matthew, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. We've been reviewing the partnership contracts and we've found some discrepancies." "Discrepancies?" David pulled out a folder. "It turns out that when you formed the company, you didn't properly register some of the trademarks and patents. Technically, some of our most important innovations aren't legally protected under your name." My heart started beating fast, but not because of my medical condition this time. It was because of the rage I was feeling. "Furthermore," Sebastian continued, "during your absence, David and I have been working on new software that's going to revolutionize our service offering. We've developed it completely on our own, and we're considering licensing it as a separate company." "A separate company?" "Autotech Innovation," David said with a smile I didn't like at all. "We've already started the registration process." After that conversation, I went home feeling betrayed and furious. My wife, Carmen, immediately noticed my state. "What happened? I thought you'd be happy to be back at work." I told her everything. Carmen, who is a corporate attorney, went livid. "Matthew, this sounds like they're trying to steal your own company. We need to review all the legal documents immediately." That night, Carmen and I spent hours reviewing contracts, intellectual property records, and company incorporation documents. What we discovered made me feel even worse. During my absence, Sebastian and David had been very busy. They had created separate bank accounts, registered web domains similar to ours, and had indeed begun the process of creating a competing company. But Carmen found something else. "Matthew, look at this. The contracts they closed while you were in the hospital, they're not registered under Autotech Solutions. They're under Autotech Innovation." "What does that mean?" "It means they've been diverting new business to their parallel company. Basically, they've been using your established company to get clients, but signing contracts under their new company. It was worse than I had imagined. They didn't just want to steal part of my company, they wanted to take everything and leave me with an empty shell." That night I barely slept. But it wasn't because of depression or sadness. It was because my mind was working at full speed, planning my revenge. You see, there's something Sebastian and David didn't know about me. Something I had kept secret, even from my wife, until recently. 3 years ago, my Uncle Robert, my dad's brother, died in a car accident. Robert never married or had children, and surprisingly, he left me his entire inheritance. It wasn't a massive fortune, but it was approximately $800,000 in properties and investments. I never told anyone about this inheritance, not even David. I used it discreetly to expand Autotech Solutions, buying better equipment, investing in research and development, and maintaining a robust emergency fund. The company books, everything appeared as principal partner investment, but I never specified where that money came from. Carmen and I developed a plan. First, we were going to meticulously document everything Sebastian and David had done. Second, we were going to use my resources to legally protect my interests. And third, We were going to give them a lesson they would never forget. The next day, I returned to the office, acting as if I had accepted their proposal. Guys, I've been thinking about what you said yesterday, and maybe you're right. Maybe it's time to restructure the company. The relief on Sebastian's face was almost comical. Matthew, I'm glad you see things our way. This is going to be good for everyone. Before we make anything official, I'd like to review the exact numbers. Can you show me a complete breakdown of all the contracts you closed while I was away? David nodded enthusiastically. Of course. Here are all the documents. I spent the rest of the day meticulously reviewing every document they showed me. As expected, they had been lying about many things. Several of the new contracts they claimed to have secured were actually renewals of existing contracts, but they had transferred the renewals to Autotech Innovation. That afternoon, I called a meeting with all employees. Sebastian and David thought I was going to announce the restructuring. Before making any major announcements, I said, I'd like everyone to understand exactly where we stand as a company. Maria, could you explain why you no longer work here? Maria, who had come to the meeting at my invitation, looked uncomfortable. Mr. Matthew, I never quit. Mr. Sebastian told me that you had decided to reduce staff while you recovered and that my position had been eliminated. The silence in the room was palpable. Interesting. And all of you, I said, addressing the rest of the team, did you know that Sebastian and David had created a competing company while I was in the hospital? The shocked faces told me they had no idea. Sebastian tried to take control. Matthew, this is inappropriate. We should discuss this privately. No, I think it should be very public, especially considering you've been diverting contracts from our company to yours. David turned red. That's not true. I pulled out a folder full of documents. It's not. Then explain to me why the brewery contract, which was negotiated using Autotech Solutions resources, is signed under Autotech Innovation. The tension in the room was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Sebastian and David looked like children who had been caught stealing candy. But before we continue this discussion, I continued, there's something I need to clarify about the ownership structure of this company. I pulled out another set of documents. You see, for the past 3 years, I've been investing additional capital in Autotech Solutions. Capital. That came from an inheritance I received from my uncle Robert. David frowned. What inheritance? You never mentioned anything about an inheritance. No, I didn't. And I also didn't mention that inheritance was for $800,000 and that I've invested most of that money in this company. Carmen, who had been waiting outside, came in with our corporate lawyer, Mr. Lopez. Mr. Lopez has been reviewing all our legal documents, I said. It turns out that, due to my additional investments, my stake in the company isn't 60%. It's 78%. Sebastian went pale. That can't be right. Mr. Lopez spoke for the first time. It's completely correct. Every additional investment by Mr. Matthew is properly documented and registered. Furthermore, we've discovered that Autotech Innovation was created using intellectual property that legally belongs to Autotech Solutions. Impossible, David muttered. The software you claim to have developed independently, the lawyer continued, was created using computers owned by Autotech Solutions during Autotech Solutions work hours and using base code that is Autotech Solutions intellectual property. Legally, everything you developed belongs to us. The following days were complete chaos. Carmen and Mr. Lopez worked quickly to obtain temporary restraining orders that froze all Autotech Innovation activities and required Sebastian and David to transfer all contracts back to Autotech Solutions. Sebastian tried to fight, legally, but he didn't have the resources for a prolonged legal battle. He had spent most of his savings establishing Autotech Innovation and couldn't afford lawyers of our caliber. David, on the other hand, came begging for my forgiveness. Matthew, please, I'm your brother. Sebastian convinced me it was the right thing to do. He said you had been taking too much credit for the company's success. And you believed him? I thought I deserved more recognition for my work. Marketing has been crucial to our growth. David, you've always been well paid for your work. I gave you a stake in the company when you didn't have to have one. I treated you as an equal partner when you were an employee. I know. I made a terrible mistake. But it was too late for apologies. They had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. A week later, I called another company-wide meeting. This time, Sebastian and David weren't invited. As you all know, there have been some significant changes in Autotech Solutions' leadership structure. Sebastian Ruiz and David Herrera are no longer part of this company. I decided to be completely transparent with my team about what had happened. They deserved it after all the confusion. Additionally, I'm pleased to announce that, thanks to the resolution of these legal issues, we've recovered several important contracts, and Autotech Solutions is in a stronger financial position than ever. I also announced salary increases for the entire team and special bonuses for those who had maintained their loyalty during the crisis. Maria was immediately reinstated to her position with a significant raise and a formal apology from me for what had happened. Update 1. It's been 3 months since I kicked Sebastian and David out of the company, and things have been interesting. First, the good news. Autotech Solutions is thriving more than ever, without the distraction of treacherous partners. And with all contracts recovered, we've expanded our team by 40% and secured 2 major new contracts. I've hired a new CTO, a brilliant woman named Anna, who has more technical experience than Sebastian. I also hired an external marketing director, because although David was good at his job, his betrayal meant I couldn't trust having internal marketing for a while. As for Sebastian, the news isn't so good for him. Autotech Innovation was officially dissolved after he lost the legal battle. All contracts were transferred back to Autotech Solutions, and he had to pay significant compensation for damages. I heard he had to sell his house to cover legal costs and compensation. He tried to get jobs at other tech companies in the city, but our industry is small and word spread quickly about what he had done. Basically, he became professionally untouchable. The last I heard, he had to move to another city to find work. And David, my dear brother, decided that the best way to handle the situation was to tell our entire family that I had been unfair to him and that I had cheated him out of his fair share of the company. This led to some very uncomfortable moments at family gatherings. My parents initially tried to mediate, asking us to work out our differences as brothers, but when Carmen and I showed them all the legal documents and evidence of what David and Sebastian had done, the tone changed quickly. My dad, who had worked honestly his entire life, was particularly disgusted. "I didn't raise my son to be a thief," he told David at a very tense family meeting. David is now working as a freelancer, doing small graphic design jobs. Without the stability of Autotech Solutions, his financial situation is much more precarious. His wife Laura called me a month ago asking me to consider giving him another chance, especially since they have 2 small children. I told her I respected her position as a wife and mother, but that what David had done wasn't a simple error in judgment. It was a calculated betrayal that could have destroyed everything I had worked for over the years. Update 2. It's amazing how life can change in a year. Autotech Solutions is now the largest industrial automation company in the region. We've opened offices in 2 additional cities and have over 50 employees. The irony is that, without Sebastian and David draining resources and creating drama, the company has grown faster than I ever imagined possible. Sometimes I think their betrayal was, in a twisted way, the best thing that could have happened to me. I've used some of the additional profits to establish an investment fund for tech startups. It's my way of giving back to the entrepreneurial community, especially supporting young engineers who are where I was 8 years ago. As for my health, I'm better than ever. The stress of the betrayal initially worsened my condition, but once everything was resolved, my doctor says my recovery has been exemplary. Regular exercise and an improved diet have worked wonders. Carmen and I have also strengthened our relationship enormously during this process. Seeing her fight by my side, use her legal expertise to protect me, and support me unconditionally during the most difficult moments reminded me why I married her in the first place. About Sebastian, the news is mixed. I heard he finally found work at a software company in another city, but in a much more junior position than he had with me. I also learned that his wife left him during the entire legal process, taking their children. I can't say I feel bad for him. Actions have consequences. David is a more complicated story. His financial situation got so bad that he and his family had to move back in with our parents. This has created a lot of tension in the family, especially since my parents are in their 60s and were supposed to be enjoying their golden years, not raising grandchildren. 6 months ago, David finally swallowed his pride and asked me for a meeting. He came to my office, the same office where he had tried to steal my company, looking defeated and exhausted. "Matthew," he told me, "I know I have no right to ask you for anything. I know I screwed everything up, but my children aren't to blame for what I did. Laura is working double shifts just to keep us afloat." I listened without interrupting. "I'm not asking you to give me my job back. I'm not even asking for forgiveness because I know I don't deserve it. But if there's any way you can help my children, an education fund, something, I'd be grateful for the rest of my life." It was a difficult conversation. On one hand, David had betrayed my trust in the most fundamental way possible. On the other hand, he was my brother, and his children were my nephews. I told him I would think about it. After discussing it with Carmen, we decided to establish an education fund for David's children, but with strict conditions. The money would be held in trust until the children turned 18, could only be used for education, and David would have no direct access to the funds. I also made it clear that this didn't mean our relationship was repaired. It was simply my way of ensuring that my nephews didn't suffer for their father's mistakes. Update 3. It's been 2 years since the day I returned from the hospital to find that my partner and my brother were trying to steal my company. As I write this final update, I'm sitting in my new office, an entire building that Autotech Solutions now owns. The company has grown exponentially. We have 120 employees, international contracts, and just closed a funding round that valued the company at $15 million. Anna, our CTO, has developed software that's revolutionizing the automation industry. But more important than the financial success is what I've learned about loyalty, trust, and the value of genuine relationships. Maria, who was unfairly fired by Sebastian, is now our Director of Operations. The employees who remained loyal during the crisis have been promoted and rewarded generously. We've created a company culture based on transparency and mutual respect. As for my family, things have evolved. My parents finally fully understood what David had done, especially after they had to deal with the financial consequences of his actions. My relationship with them has strengthened, but my relationship with David remains tense. The education fund for his children has been one of the best decisions I've made. His oldest son, Michael, is now 12 years old and is showing incredible talent for math and science. Sometimes I think maybe he'll be the one to continue the legacy of innovation I've been building. David got a stable job at a marketing agency a year ago. He doesn't make much, but it's enough for him and his family to move back to their own house. We've never talked directly about what happened. It's like it's a forbidden topic between us. As for Sebastian, I recently learned that he tried to start another tech company but couldn't get investors due to his reputation. The tech industry is small, and word about his betrayal spread quickly. It's a harsh but fair lesson about the consequences of our actions. Looking back, sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had never had that heart attack. Would Sebastian and David have found another way to betray me? Or was the opportunity to see me vulnerable what awakened their greed? I think the answer is that people show their true character when they think no one is watching. Sebastian and David thought I was helpless in the hospital, and that was the perfect opportunity to show who they really were. The betrayal hurt more coming from David than from Sebastian. Sebastian was a business partner. Our agreement was fundamentally transactional, although I had developed affection for him. But David was my blood brother. We grew up together, shared childhood memories, and I had trusted him in a way that goes beyond business. But here's the thing about betrayal. In the end, it says more about the person who betrays than about the person betrayed. David and Sebastian had to live with the knowledge of what they did, with the consequences of their actions, and with the loss of respect from everyone who knows the story. I, on the other hand, learned valuable lessons about resilience, about the importance of having solid legal systems in place, and about the invaluable worth of having people like Carmen in your life who will support you no matter what. Autotech Solutions is now stronger than it ever would have been with Sebastian and David. Sometimes the most painful betrayals end up being disguised gifts that force us to become better and stronger versions of ourselves. And if Sebastian and David are reading this somehow, I hope you've learned from your mistakes. I hope you found peace with the consequences of your actions, and I hope you never betray someone's trust the way you betrayed mine. Because at the end of the day, success is built on solid relationships, hard work and integrity, and those are things that money can't buy, and that no one can steal from you. Thank you so much for reading until the end. What do you think about this story? Do you think I was too harsh on my brother and my ex-partner, or that they got exactly what they deserved? I'd love to read your comments about how you would have handled a situation like this. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel for more stories like this, and share it with your friends and family who also enjoy this type of content. And now, right on your screen, you have another incredible story waiting for you. It's about someone who also had to face family betrayal, but this time with a completely different twist that will leave you speechless. Click now to continue on the channel and dive into another story you won't be able to stop listening to. See you in the next video, and remember, justice always finds its way.